or shirk elections. Okay. For example, you want to choose, shall we worship Allah or shaitan? Okay. If you want to make an election about this, you're committing shirk in Allah. Who told you you have a choice? Who told you in the first place you had a choice who you worship, Allah or the shaitan? Okay. You want to ask another question? Shall we obey Iblis or Fir'aun? Okay, both of them are shirk. Both of them kufr. Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِنْ أَطَعْتُمُوهُمْ إِنَّكُمْ لَمُشْرِكُونَ. If you obey them, you're mushrikeen. So how can you take one of these options? You want to say now, is Labour our Lord or is Conservative? Okay, and why do I say Lord? Lord, why? Because Allah Ta'ala declared the one who legislates laws, that is your Lord. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. They took their rabbis and priests as lords instead of Allah. Why? Because they made haram halal and halal haram. And what do you think the MPs do? What do you think the MPs do in the parliament? They sit there debating according to their own desires and their own opinions. What should be halal, what should be haram, what should be legal, what should be illegal. That is the job of the MPs. So the idea that we can make man a legislator instead of Allah, that is shirk in the first place. We don't involve in that shirk. Okay? And somebody could say, well, what about the maslahah, the benefit? Okay? What about the benefit in voting for these, the lesser of the two evil MPs? I say there's no such thing as maslahah in shirk. It's impossible. Ibn Taymiyyah said, الشرك والظلم والقول على الله بغير علم والفواحش ما ظهر منه وما بطن. He said, لا يكون فيها شيء من المصلحة. He said the shirk and the oppression and speaking about Allah without knowledge and the unlawful sexual acts, hidden and apparent, there is no way for there to be any maslahah in them whatsoever. No way for there to be maslahah in that, any benefit in it whatsoever. No way. It's something been prohibited in every sharia of every nabi, in every time, in every era. And Allah Ta'ala does not forbid a thing while there's benefit in it. The sharia is perfect and complete. If there is benefit to be found and the sharia does not command to it, that means the sharia is imperfect, and the sharia is not imperfect. The sharia is perfect. It's our aqeedah. If you think the sharia missed something and there's benefit to be found by disobeying Allah, there's something wrong with your aqeedah. Something seriously wrong with your aqeedah. Okay? So this is what we need to understand. So we need to understand, what is this shirk? What is this kufr? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is al-hakam al-adl. He is al-musharri', the legislator, the commander. He is al-amir. He is al-mukallif, the one who makes you accountable and responsible. Nobody else can do that. That belongs to Allah exclusively. That is His part of His right, is haqq, as the Lord. أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. Allah says, is it not for Allah the creation and the command? They go hand in hand. Unless you created, you don't have the right to command. And nobody shares with Allah in His creation at all. So Allah is the creator, we are the creation. Allah is al-ma'bud, the one who is worshipped, and we are al-ibad, the ones who worship Him. Allah, He is al-muta', we are al-muti'. Allah is the one who is obeyed, and we are the ones who obey Him. He is al-hakam, He is the one who rules and legislates, and we are the ones who obey and we seek judgment from Him. That's what we need to understand, our relationship between us and Allah. When you start to give that relationship to man, or you start to choose, decide, should we or shouldn't we? Do we have a choice in the matter at all in the first place? That's when we start to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ahzab verse 36, وما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيرة من أمرهم. He said, it's not correct for any believing man or woman, okay, believing man or believing woman, when Allah and His Messenger have already decided a matter, that they should have any choice in the matter at all. Okay, what choice exactly? Like you're asking somebody shura. Like imagine you ask istikhara to Allah. Oh Allah, should I obey you or not? What do you mean by should I obey? It's not allowed to make this istikhara. Not every istikhara is allowed. Not every shura is allowed. Not every advice is allowed. Not every question is allowed. He goes to his mufti and says, Shaykh, can you give me a fatwa? I want to commit zina. Is that allowed? No. It's not allowed for him to ask that question. No necessity in Islam in the first place. He doesn't have a choice in that matter. You can't, appoint somebody to change that hukum or to change that role in the first place. So now we understand there are different types of elections. What type of election do the elections in May this year coming up fall under? Okay, what exactly are we voting for? Okay, I'm going to use this other board as we have, alhamdulillah. Allah bless us with many whiteboards. Okay, we need to understand what is a democratic election. Okay, we need to understand this clearly and absolutely precisely. Okay, because people will try to make shubahat for you, might try to make special arguments for you. They say, look, akhi, just because we are choosing one of them doesn't mean we believe in their own deen or agree with everything they say. Doesn't mean we believe in all of their policies and so on. They'll say to you that elections, they're like a shura, they're like consultation. They say elections, they are just like appointing a khalifa, the way the Sahaba they gathered to appoint Abu Bakr as-Siddiq as a khalifa. So the question is, are we choosing a leader? Are we choosing advice, shura or consultation? Are we choosing an enemy to fight against? What are we exactly choosing? What are these elections about? Okay, democracy is built on certain principles and is a Western term. Okay, we don't add our own definitions to it. We can't assign our own meaning to it. Like somebody wants to say that actually Christianity is Islam, essentially. What do you mean Christianity is Islam exactly? This is their deen. Let them define it for you. They say no, they're all Muslims. They just don't know it yet. No, they're all Muslims. No, you meet some people like this. They really think actually they believe in God, so therefore they're all Muslims. Okay, the Christians have their own belief, and Allah declared those who share their belief what they are. So the Christians say no, Christianity is to say Jesus is God. The Christianity is to say that God is the third in the Trinity. And Allah subhanahu said about them what? He said what? لَقَدْ كَفْرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْمَسِيحُ ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ. He said they are disbelieved, those who say Allah is Jesus son of Mary. He said لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ الثَّلَاثَةِ. That they are disbelievers, those who say Allah is the third in the Trinity. Simple for you. But he said no, this, you can't call them kafir. It's not correct. Allah said they're kafir. He said no, but it's a dirty word. It's haram. Don't say that. Astaghfirullah. You can't have this change in the terminology. You want to change the Sharia term, put your own term. And change even the term of the kuffar, and you put your own meaning to it. They're saying, we worship the idols. No, you worship Allah. No. They worship idols, they said it themselves. So democracy is their deen. They tell us what their deen is, and we tell them what the hukum is, based upon the Quran and Sunnah. So democracy is a term that comes from the Greek. Because the Greeks are the first ones, who invented the, democracy. They're the ones who first started it. It comes from the words demos and kratos. It's two together. Demos meaning the people, kratos meaning the laws, meaning the law for the people. Democracy is the law of the people for the people by the people. That is their aqeedah, that's what they believe. Okay, that is exactly what they believe. So how do you have laws of the people, for the people, by the people? How do you establish that? How can the people make the laws? So they say, look, You know, if you want to have 60, now how many people? They've got 70 now, isn't it? Okay, it's all those Muslims immigrating, you see. 70 million people in the UK. Okay, you've got 70 million people in the UK. How are you going to get 70 million people together in one room to debate a law and decide what we're going to do? Okay, you can't do it. It's impossible. You know, it's impossible, especially every single issue they want to debate. You know, how are they going to get 70 million people? You know, even if one of them talks, the rest of them can't even hear him. You know, it's impossible. So you can't have 70 million people making laws together. So how are you going to have the law of the people, for the people, by the people? So they said what we'll do is, you know, we'll divide that up into constituents. Okay, and from each one, the people will appoint one MP to represent them. Okay, there's probably a couple of them got women as well, isn't it? Okay. 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 So they all appoint, you know, for each area, one person, for each constituency, okay, for each constituency, okay, one person to represent the rest of them, because it's still by the people. How? We all in one room say, you know, brother, the brother with the longest beard, mashallah, he will represent us here in so-and-so house, and he will go and speak on behalf of all of us. Okay, it's called al-wikala. Okay, it's called al-wikala. You will have a wakil. Let's get a different color. Okay, so they will choose a wakil. Okay, in fact the word, okay, or you can say naib. Okay, it's the same thing. They mean the same thing. Is your representative. In fact, the word in Arabic for an MP, you know what it is? Is naib. Okay, your representative. He represents you. Your appointed person. So just like when Ja'far, he spoke to Najashi, the Muslims in Abyssinia, they said, he will speak on behalf of all of us. So he went forward and spoke on behalf of all of them. Okay, your representative, they go and they negotiate and they speak and they represent whatever the people behind him, they are saying, he represents them. So this is what they say. So those 70 million, they need to choose among them just a few people, maybe a couple of hundred, 200, 300, for the whole country, to represent all 70 million. And they sit in a house called Parliament. Okay, they go to a house called Parliament, okay, which is one big satanic building in the UK. If you ever seen it, you know, full of these idols and statues of devils and all this kind of crazy gargoyles, it's madness. Okay, so they have this big building, okay, with all these spires or whatever, okay, and it's called Parliament. Okay, and they will go there and they will decide what the laws will be for the people. Okay, what laws will be for the people. So they will decide laws and legislate. Okay, and don't be confused at all about this. That is what the MP does. They legislate laws in parliaments. Go to the Parliament's website. Okay, go to Parliament's website. Okay, they don't go there to learn tajweed or to make tafsir of the Quran. They go there to legislate laws. Go to Parliament's website officially. The first thing you'll see when they say about us, what is Parliament? Parliament is a house of legislation. It's a verbatim quote from their website. How Parliament is a house of legislation. And what is an MP? What is his job role? They don't clean streets and they don't, you know, drive taxis. They are legislators. That is their job. Is the only job role they have. Is they are legislators. Okay, they don't walk the beat with the police. They're not police officers. They're not, you know, they don't even, you know, decide. You know, people, they always ask you, what about traffic laws? What about the speed limit? How are you going to... MPs don't decide the speed limit either. They don't go to your local road and put up a 40 mile per hour sign. That's not their job. Their job is to make laws in parliaments. They make the legislation which the rest of the country will then be governed by, be ruled by. Okay, so that's what elections are, the democratic elections. That's what the elections in May are.